Hi everybody. Very excited to be driving this all new Land Rover Defender, the iconic off-roading name from the iconic off-roading brand. It's all new, it's back in the US, and here I am behind the wheel. Very exciting. Now, the Defenders were actually only sold in the US for 5 years before now. They had a brief stint in the 90s, between 1993 through 1997. That's when official US Land Rover Defenders were sold here before. And it's not until 23 years later that we got the 2020 Land Rover Defenders. Now, I'm talking about the US that had only had that 5-year run in the 90s. Throughout the world, it was a much longer reign. So the Land Rover Defender 110 was originally called the Land Rover 110, and that's been around since the 1983 model year. And that's not the US, the other parts of the world. And the origins of the 110 is actually related to the wheelbase, as it had a roughly 110-inch wheelbase. It was actually a 2800 millimeter wheelbase, so just a touch over 110 inches. But anyway, back to now. What we are driving in particular is a 2021 Land Rover Defender 110 SE. So yes, this is 1 year after the introductory model year, and mainly what changed between 2020 and 21 were the trims that are available, and this is among those new trims. This is part of the X Dynamic trim, which is an in-between of the base Defender and the high-end Defender X. So this is kind of a middle ground. And within that middle ground for 2021, there are 3 different levels: S, SE, and HSE. And those are called specification packs, according to Land Rover. And yes, it is now 2022, and there is of course a 2022 model year Land Rover Defender, and there are new trims again. Most notably is a V8 version of the Land Rover Defender with over 500 horsepower and a 0 to 60 time that Land Rover claims is in under 5 seconds. Why you'd want a Defender that is that fast, I'm not so sure, but hey, I'm sure there's people out there that would love it. And I mean, you know, power is power. This kind of being a middle-of-the-road equipped car, it does have, at least in Defender terms, middle-of-the-road pricing. Starting price for this 4-door Defender 110 is $64,050. However, this particular model does have a lot of options, so it's priced at $69,905. And if you're at all curious, I have a list of what those options are in the description. So yes, there are 2-door versions of this, that is the Defender 90, and there are 3-row versions of the Defender 110, but this is not any of that. This is a 2-row Defender 110 with 5 seats. All right, with all that background info in the bag, let me just tell you that this thing is super cool, and it's super cool to look at, so let me show you around and inside the car. All right, guys, let's take a closer look at this 2021 Land Rover Defender SE. Now, this is a 110 Defender, so that means we've got 4 doors and not 2, and we also have a 119-inch wheelbase instead of a 101.9-inch wheelbase. And we've got this extremely long wheelbase, short overhangs, and just a really interesting squared off shape. And I'll put the dimensions on the screen right now so you can see that. But let's be blunt about this thing. This looks cool, man. This looks really good. I think that Land Rover really nailed the design of this thing to give you this really fantastic combination of modern and classic shapes. You still get the squared off look, but you definitely have much tighter, more interesting, complex forms in the metal and the plastic. So it is a really fascinating classic meets modern design. I really like it. And by the way, the paint you're looking at is called Pangea Green, and it is a $710 optional color. Looking at the front, you have a lot of interesting shapes to kind of take in. It's really fascinating. We've got these square headlights surround right here, but actually circular headlights right there. But then even within that, you've got another square in there and some more right there as well. You also have fog lamps down low beneath this kind of like skid plate looking, more polished metal feeling skin right here. And that does trail down into the lower bumper section as well. And that's met with this, flat black bumper piece right there, along with a camera to give you some really excellent views of what's going on immediately in front of your Defender. Of course, the classic Land Rover logo right there, and a not at all subtle Defender. But even looking up on the hood, I mean, this is so super cool. This almost like tire tread look on the hood right here, this cladding right here. And then you've got these really interesting gloss black inserts right at the base of the A-pillar that leads right into the gloss black side view mirror covers. Looking down at the front quarter panel, more gloss black right here with Defender written right in the top there. For the Defender, you can be on anywhere between 18 and 22 inch wheels, but these are right in the middle. These are 20 inch wheels on this 110 SE model. But we did get the $350 off-road tires is what they call it, and specifically these are Goodyear Wrangler all-terrain adventure tires, which I think is a really fascinating name for it. But if you just look at these chunky blocks of tread and these big gaps in between them, you can see that this would not be ideal for on-road noise and rolling resistance, those types of things, but definitely better at grabbing and clawing at loose dirt and that kind of stuff. So, it tells a story, that tread. Looking at the car in profile, we did that briefly already, but there are a couple of details I want to point out. First of all, as you can see, this is an awfully tall vehicle, and this has some really cool design features as well. I really love this kind of square into the bodywork between the window in the second row and the back glass. And this is kind of where the seat pillar is, so that's really fascinating. Also, if I can reach high enough, this has a $1,800 optional sliding panoramic moonroof, and from the inside you can see it lets in a lot of natural light. I show you these gloss black side view mirror covers. Well, the gloss black continues around the windows right here, and I think contrasts the Pangea green paint really well. Looking in back, it's very squared off and vertical here. And yes, we do have our spare tire. It is full size and is right there and adds more than 10 inches to the length of the Defender. It is 187 inches long without it and 197 inches long with it. I'll put the exact numbers on the screen so you can see. And again, there's some really interesting details. These squared off tail lights right here and these lights here. Right here we get the Defender and P400, and that's your indication that we have the 3-liter inline 6. Plus, you can see this is the handle to open the rear hatch. I'll do that in just a moment. And then we've got this nice polished metal right here. And if you look down low, I love this tailpipe. So dual exhaust tips, but nothing glamorous about it. They're just there, hidden, and so real. I love it. When you open this side door right here, you've got this big heavy thing swinging out and really nice access to your 34 cubic feet of storage right here. And you're probably saying to yourself, that does not look at all like 34 cubic feet. That's because we've got this privacy panel on here, and its removal is actually pretty cool. It's all manual, so you just kind of take it out like that, and you have these 4 straps right here to unload here. And now you can see a very purposeful, very rugged looking, squared off 34 cubic feet of storage right there. You've got this thick rubber floor mat. You've got these right here. You've got some vents and options right here. You've got these skylights built in the back of it almost on either side. That's super cool. And there's some more vents right here, more straps right there. And you've got these little hooks right here. So again, it's just this really interesting combination of ruggedness, purposefulness, but kind of luxury as well. Even in back, you've got some more storage right here in this bin. And I love these exposed torque screws that you see holding it together. That is so super cool. And then Defender, of course, right there. And if you do want to open this is your emergency triangle. Hopefully you won't need it. But let's say you don't have any passengers and 34 cubic feet of room is not enough. Well, easy enough to fix. And now you have 79 cubic feet of storage space and 2 seats for the people in front. As you open the second row, more rubberized floor mats down here, more super cool Torx, exposed Torx right there, and just a very nice looking interior. You know, this Pangea paint continues on the inside of the door right there, kind of like this raw metal section of the door, and then you have this nice kind of matching soft touch material right there, and then this more khaki color that's inserted in various places as well. Now, this car does have the optional $1,075 3-zone climate control system, so there is your third zone right there. Plus, you also have a couple of your standard electric ports right there and USB-C ports as well. Also, once you sit down, I have really good thigh support. The seat bottoms are nice and high. I have plenty of headroom as well, and I am 5'11" or 181 centimeters tall. And if you look straight ahead, you can see it says 5 volts right there, and there's another USB port right there. Also, you've got this really wonderful view of the panoramic glass. And if you don't have 3 passengers, of course you get some armrests and cup holders right there. Lovely, lovely. Of all the SUVs I've been in, this being the 5-seat 2-row version, offers plenty of legroom, plenty of space, plenty of width. I'd be pretty darn comfortable in here for a long road trip, even in the second row. More exposed Torx right here, soft touch materials here, raw door panel right here, and more of that khaki right here, and in the headliner as well. More rubberized floor mats right here, and then hard plastic right here around the kick plate. Again, more Defender right here. These are 14-way adjustable seats right here, so you have a lot of adjustments with lumbar, fore, aft, up, down, seat back, all those types of things. Interesting place for the lock on lock button right here, 3-position seat memory, and of course automatic windows and side view mirror adjustment and the rest of that. There are also a lot of like cool pockets and stuff. So okay, this is pretty standard here in the lower door, but then you've got another pocket up here, upper and lower pockets here in the center console. We've got an electric park brake right here, and this is where you adjust the brightness of your instrument cluster right there. Push button start down here. And we've got more little pockets of storage there, and here is a better look at the fully digital instrument cluster. Taking a quick look at the steering wheel, you know, pretty nice looking wheel. You do have the cruise control options here and some media options here. You've got this like nice flat dash right here, which is really interesting. You've got a lot of speakers built in and the vents and all that. And again, this is more soft touch material right there. A nice widescreen center console touchscreen right here with lots and lots of options. You know, all this that you can see, of course, it is wireless Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and there's even more down here as well. I mean, vehicle dimensions. How cool is this? Anyway, beneath that, here is your second and third zones for the 3-zone climate control right there. And you also have heated and cooled seats. You use these buttons to get them, and so push, and I can add heat or ventilation to my seats. Beneath that, more USB ports and charge ports to use, and more access to that lower center console storage right there. More cup holders. These are nice and deep and grip onto the cups really well. Wireless smartphone charging right there, and of course more storage, and this is nice that it folds all the way flat, so you have a bit of storage for the second row if you need it. Looking up, here are some of the adjustments for the panoramic moonroof. This is the privacy panel, and this is what actually opens and closes sliding, and of course you get a sunglass holder as well. But I really like the natural light, but there goes the privacy panel. Okay, obviously these are not just HVAC controls right here. You have adjustable ride height right here, and a lot of different options with stability control on or off, lower high range, and different options you can have with terrain response. So this has terrain response too, and that means we have a lot of different drive modes, but not the typical on-road drive modes that you see. And you don't access them the typical way. Press this button right here, and all of a sudden I have the comfort program selected, you can see, but look at all the options I have. And I use this dial, the same dial for HVAC and heated seats and stuff, and all of a sudden, this is what I use to switch to grass, gravel, snow, mud and ruts, sand, rock crawl, and wade. Also, real quick, you do have hill descent control, and you have 3 different options for vehicle height, So you have a low setting, the standard setting, and the high setting. It's an air suspension, and you can hear the car work even if I just press this button. So we're currently in the low setting. I'll lift it up. And you can see the horizon perspective changing a bit. Pretty cool. All right, let's get back to the drive. I just love all those little details that Land Rover added to really just like express ruggedness in this thing and express kind of like raw purposefulness in this thing, and yet still provide quite a bit of luxury at the same time. All right, now let's dig into the powertrain. This is a P400 Land Rover Defender, and that means that instead of a 2-liter 4-cylinder engine, you get a 3-liter inline 6-cylinder engine. Both of the engines are turbocharged, but going with the 3-liter inline 6 means that you get an extra 100 horsepower. I've got 395 horsepower and 406 pound-feet of torque. And that also means that we're actually technically driving a hybrid, a mild hybrid. This is a 48-volt system, and with that 48-volt system, Land Rover uses a starter alternator, which is pretty typical, but also a 48-volt electric supercharger to kind of like bolster and complement the non-electric turbocharger, which is a really interesting thing to do that helps throttle response and the lower revs and all those kinds of things. So the combination of a little bit of help from an electric supercharger, the turbocharger, and an inline 6 engine configuration is a really fantastic powertrain. I really enjoy this P400 powertrain, and part of that comes from the fact that it is mated to a fantastic 8-speed automatic transmission from ZF, tried and true, used in a lot of different high-end cars, works well in every single one of them. And of course, you get all-wheel drive in this thing, a full-time 4-wheel drive system with a 2-speed transfer case, so you have 4 high and 4 low gears. And I bet you could have guessed that this vehicle is not light. It is big, it has all-wheel drive and a big engine. I'll put the weight on the screen right there so you can see it. It is also not the most aerodynamic thing you've ever seen. This is basically a big brick wall you're pushing through the air. So yeah, fuel economy is not great. You get 17 miles to the gallon in the city, 22 miles to the gallon on the interstate, 19 miles combined. So yeah, it's a hybrid, but it is not putting up anywhere near what you'd expect to be hybrid numbers. It's a little bit like a hybrid in the way that the Mercedes Maybach GLS 600 is a hybrid. The flip side to that is acceleration, and of course, I had to do a test. Let me show you that right now. Okay, everybody, time for an acceleration test. We do have full-time 4-wheel drive. We do have 395 horsepower in a turbocharged inline 6, and we also have the transmission in sport mode. Okay, come to a complete stop. Bit of brake torque. Oh, we got more than 2,600 RPM. Here we go. Kind of a soft launch considering everything, but the car just leaned way back even with the brake torque. But man, oh man, what a beautiful sounding inline 6, and we got a lot of punch as well. 0 to 60 in 5.8 seconds according to Land Rover. That is a lot of power. Overall, the engine sounds great. You have strong pull, and you have good quick shifts from the 8-speed transmission. Everything works just as it should. In fact, better than I expected. Great powertrain. So despite everything I just said about weight and aerodynamics and all that kind of stuff, 0 to 60 in 5.8 seconds for this, pretty darn good. And a top speed of 129 miles an hour. Now, would you want to go 129 miles an hour in this thing? That's debatable. But the fact that it can do it is impressive. And yeah, this will be on the road most of the time, even though it's got quite a lot of off-road credentials. So I was curious to see how it handled. Let me show you that. All right, everybody, time for a handling test in a Defender. I mean, look, you're going to drive this thing on the road. There's going to be corners. It's good to know where and how it handles. So let's give it a try. I do have it in its regular driving mode, and I also have the transmission in its sport mode. So we'll see how it goes. Yeah, good pull, certainly. And I love inline six engines. Yeah, lots of body roll, lots of stability control intervention. Stability control does not like to be turned off when you're on the road, so, I mean, honestly, that's fine. Oh God, lots of body roll and more stability control intervention. And you've got a slow steering rack with a bit of play around center, so yeah, lots of inputs. Slow turn-in response, but fast throttle response. The sport mode transmission is definitely effective. That was not good. That was not surprising. I mean, steering response is slow. Front end response is slow. You got a lot of body roll. You don't have a lot of grip, but the stability control intervenes just as it should. Everything's totally competent, and you wouldn't want to be going fast in this thing anyway. So completely as expected, totally safe, totally fine. Okay, to get a little bit closer to the comfort zone of this thing, I also took it out on the interstate. Let me show you that right now. All right, everybody, time for a quick run on the freeway to see how this Defender does. I've got it still in normal driving mode, but I've now got the transmission in drive instead of sport, and we'll see how it goes. Boy, even just with moderate throttle, you can feel the body move back. But I love this inline six. Great power, smooth operation. Inline six engines are just great things. Okay, we are up to speed. We do have cruise control set. It is not an adaptive cruise control, but that suits me just fine. We do have some lane keep assist and some other things like that, some other driver assist systems, but adaptive cruise control is not one of them. This is a big old brick to push through the air. This is a very big frontal area, very squared off machine. So there is a bit of wind noise just because there's so much wind to push out of the way. But it's really pretty darn good considering that. We have good wind isolation, so I can hear the wind, but it's not loud. The engine, just like it was for the handling test and the acceleration test, is fantastic. I currently have the cruise set at 78 miles an hour, and we are spinning right around 1900 RPM, so it's just like a distant, smooth rumble in the background, which I enjoy. The ride is very pleasant, so you do have some of that play in the steering right around center, so it's not the most engaging feeling thing, even on the interstate, but you have plenty of suspension travel, plenty of sidewall, and plenty of just tuning to absorb all kinds of bumps. Plus, we do have, as I said before, we have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, smartphone charger, wireless smartphone charger, all these things. So as long as you can afford the gas bill, because it doesn't have the greatest fuel economy either, of course, this is a very pleasant highway cruiser. Yeah, really quite nice. And there's more good news. Because this thing is so beefy and burly, it can actually tow over 8,000 pounds. 8,201 pounds, according to Land Rover. Now, that is with trailer brakes on your trailer. Without trailer brakes, that number drops significantly to just 1,653 pounds, which is not that much at all. So it's a big difference. So if you want to tow with this thing, anything serious, make sure you've got trailer brakes. And quickly, if you're wondering why those numbers are kind of odd when it comes to towing capacities, that's because they're actually in kilograms and they've been converted. It is 3,720 kilograms with trailer brakes, 750 kilograms without. But now to the good stuff, like the truly impressive stuff. Off-roading capability. This thing has tons of capability. First of all, you've got a lot of software in here. It's called terrain response. So you've got all these different settings that I showed you when we looked inside the car to give you different settings with the locking diffs and the stability control system and the air suspension and the shock absorbers and all that kind of stuff to just help you manipulate the different surfaces just so. But you've also got a good deal of hardware to help you out. Air suspension with 3 ride height levels, and the highest one gives you a ground clearance of 11.5 inches. Okay, you've also got really short overhangs on the front and the rear, so that nice long wheelbase just really pushes out the tires to the corners of the car. And that gives you, when you're at the highest ride height, 38 degrees of approach angle, 28 degrees of breakover angle, and 40 degrees of departure angle. As I mentioned, it's 11.5 inches of ground clearance when you're in the off-roading mode, and when you're in that mode, you have more ground clearance than you get in the brand new Chevrolet Silverado ZR2, which is Chevrolet's latest off-roading pickup truck. Moreover, Land Rover says that you can wade up to 35.4 inches of water. That is just under 3 feet of water that you could drive right through if you wanted to. And if you're on dry land, Land Rover claims that you can ascend or descend slopes of up to 45 degrees in this thing. So when you're actually in the car, that's got to feel like you're going straight up and down. So proper impressive numbers in this thing. But that coincides with all these different luxuries that you have in this car, you know, the nice widescreen with all the different options there, heated seats, cooled seats, wireless Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, all those things. Not only are the seats heated and cooled, they're also really comfortable, and the driver's seat is 14-way adjustable. You have plenty of space in here, plenty of width, nice thigh support, all that kind of stuff. So what is this Land Rover Defender? Well, it is a really fantastic combination of luxury and purposefulness. You got legit, real-world off-roading credibility in this thing, and it will be able to handle it. That's super cool because it comes in such a nice looking and very comfortable package that offers you a lot of stuff. To pull that off and to not look silly while you're doing it is really hard to do, and Land Rover did it, which I'm seriously impressed by that. That's super cool. But here in the US at least, let's be real, okay? The vast majority of Defenders are not gonna go off-roading. Maybe they'll go on a dirt road on occasion, but this is a fashion statement, okay? And here's the good news. It's a fantastic fashion statement. Such a cool combination of industrial, luxury, nice materials, laid out in a cool way, and giving you a comfortable experience as you do it. As long as you can afford the gas bill, this is a great, great fashion statement that happens to be a properly good off-roader as well. I'm Robin Warner, thank you for watching. And if you are still watching, I would really appreciate it if you liked this video and subscribe to my channel. Those things really, really do help me out a lot. Okay, goodbye. Oh, I love inline-six engines.